Shalom, 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 Israel.
Shalom,
you get edified on this class.
Shalom, shalom.
To the kingdom of heaven. All right, we ready.
We ready to go? All right.
Sure.
Shalom, this is your brother Judah Yehuda with Fope. And we decided to get together to do a lesson concerning the 10 tribes, right? So this lesson is titled "The 10 Tribes Gathered Unto the Kingdom of Heaven." All right, the 10 tribes gathered unto the kingdom of heaven. Now, some of you may say, "What is Negro talking about? The 10 tribes gathered into the kingdom of heaven." So, what we're going to do first, we're going to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 19. We're going to read verse 28. Yep.
All right, I'll read it. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 28, and it reads on this wise. Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging 12 tribes of Yasha.
Judging 12 tribes. So right here, Christ is telling his apostles that all of you is going to sit on the throne and judge all 12 tribes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, many people don't know that the 12 apostles, they all came from different tribes. See, many are teaching that Peter, for example, come from the tribe of Judah, right? No. All the apostles, they come from different tribes. This is why Christ says that you will sit on the throne of his glory, right? And ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones and judging the 12 tribes. 12 thrones, 12 apostles, all from different tribes. I'm going to prove it. Now we're going to go inside this book here. It's called The Contenders of the Apostles, right? Now this book here was written around the same time as the 4 Gospels. Okay? These Jews here, they were the disciples of the apostles. Many people don't know that the apostles also had disciples. Okay, so now if Shawshan can pull up the Contenders of the Apostles, I'm going to page 47, and we are going to get the genealogies of the 12 apostles in this book right here. Okay, so let me know when you get that information, Shan. If not, I just read it. You won't have to worry about it.
He's pulling it up now. There it is. He's pulling it up.
Okay. Yeah, the genealogies of the 12 apostles. And this book is excellent. I recommend anybody who believes on the Messiah, who believes in the New Testament, to get this book. It gives you more insight on what the 12 apostles went through, where they went, who they taught, how they died. For example, Matthew went to Ethiopia. What was Matthew doing in Ethiopia? They had many Cushites in Ethiopia, but also they had many Jews living in Ethiopia. So now we're going to go to the genealogies of the apostles, and I'm going to start reading it right here on page 49. Okay? You want to pull it up real quick on the screen? If not, don't worry.
I think it's having a hard time pulling up. So
okay, I'll start reading.
Go back to it.
All right. Now remind you, these disciples, right? They followed the apostles. The apostles taught these disciples, and they knew exactly where the tribes of the apostles come from. Okay. So it says here, the genealogies of the 12 apostles. It said the father of Simon, who was surnamed Peter. It says of Andrew, his brother, was the house of Reuben. Okay, so Peter and Andrew, they came from the tribe of Reuben. There you go, right there. Okay, now we have it. So if anybody watching this lesson here, you can see it right here on the screen. If you have to, take a screenshot. Okay, take a screenshot and save it for yourself. Okay, these are actual writings. Okay, writings of the followers of the Messiah. Okay, and these were the disciples of the apostles. Okay, and they give you more insight of what happened after Christ ascended to heaven. More insight. It said the father Simon, whose surname was Peter, and Andrew, his brother, was of the house of Reuben. So Peter and Andrew came from the house of Reuben. And it said that his mother's mother was of the house of Simeon. And she said Simon's Peter's mother loved him greatly, and she named him Simon after the name of her father, right? Family. And because Andrew's father loved him greatly, he counted him among the family of his father Reuben. Okay, and Zebedee was of the house of Levi, and he took a wife, a woman of the house of Judah, and bore to him 2 sons called James and John. Okay, James and John, they came from the house of Levi. Right? Then it says, now because the father of James loved him greatly, okay, James' father loved him greatly, and he counted him among the family of his father Levi. And similar, because the mother of John loved him greatly, she counted him among the family of her father Judah. You see that? Then it says, and for this reason, she brought him forth to Jesus, right? For she herself was of the house of Judah, and Christ also was of the house of Judah. Now let's go to the next page. I'm almost done. It says here, according to the flesh, and they were surnamed the children of thunder. So it says that John, right, and James, they were surnamed the children of thunder. Then it says, for they were both the priestly house of the royal house, which is Judah and Levi. Then it says, and Philip was of the house of Zebulun. Okay, Philip came from the house of Zebulun, and Bartholomew was of the house of Naphtali. Like Tobit, right? Tobit came from the house of Naphtali, right?
Hold on one second. What page we on?
We on page 50. Yeah, I started at page 49, so now we're on page 50, right? So it says, Bartholomew was of the house of Naphtali, right? Now, his name was formerly John. See, a lot of people don't know that Naphtali's name was John also. But look what Christ did here. It says, but our Lord Christ, the Messiah, the Mashiach, he changed his name because of John, the son of Zebedee. So he changed Bartholomew's name to, his name was John to Bartholomew, right? And then it says, he beloved, and Matthew, this is for you, Job Issachar, I know you watching. And Matthew was of the house of Issachar. So you telling me that Matthew was a Mexican? Matthew was a Mexican. Right. He looked like a Mexican. He was a short man with a big, you know, I'm not going to go into it. We're just going to focus on the lesson. And Thomas, well, it said Thomas was of the house of Asher. And James, the son of Alphaeus, I think I pronounced that correctly, was of the house of Gad, right? And Thaddeus, or Thaddeus, how do you pronounce this guy? Thaddeus was of the house of Joseph. He came from the house of Joseph. And Simeon, and the son of Cleopas, who is the name of Nathaniel, was of the house of Benjamin. And Judah, look what it says here. And Judas Iscariot was of the house of Dan. Now Dan sold his brother Joseph for 20 pieces of silver, etc. In like manner, Judas sold our Lord for 30 pieces of silver. So that's why I want to go quickly over the book of Matthew chapter 19, where Christ said that all of you will be judging the 12 tribes of Israel on the throne, showing you that all the apostles, they came from different tribes. Okay, there's no getting around it. Now, with that being said, right, in the book of Ezekiel, we're not going to go to the book of Ezekiel, but in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 39, it talks about the God-Magog war. Correct? The God-Magog war. Now, after the God-Magog war, it says that Christ is going to return all 12 tribes from the captivity. You can read it, start at Ezekiel chapter 38 and read all the way to 40. After the God-Magog war, he's going to return all 12 tribes from the captivity. And we know that the Mexicans, Hispanics, etc., did not go into captivity from the Eastern Hemisphere and was spread it worldwide among all the nations. That did not happen. Okay, so that's a future prophecy that have not taken place. Okay, the Gog-Magog war. Now in 2nd Ezra, also it clearly speaking of the past event, right? that already took place. Second Ezra, from the time of the Assyrian to the Babylonian captivity. Okay, so I repeat, Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. We're going to go into it now. The timeline already has been fulfilled. All in Second Ezra chapter 13 is fulfilled. When I say chapter 13, I'm talking about like from verses 1 through 50. All fulfilled already. I just want to bring that out. So now let's go inside Second Ezra.
Done.
We're going to start at verse 1. Second Ezra, verse 1. Chapter 13.
Chapter 13.
All right? Yeah. You can read if you want to.
I'll read. This is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 13, verse 1, and it reads on this wise. It came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the days thereof. I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heavens. And when he turned his countenance, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Verse 4. Okay, stop right there. And so it says here, it says a wind from the sea that moved the waves, correct? Yes, now sir. Christ is the wind. The sea symbolized the people. Okay, Christ is from the sea. The wind that controls the sea currents. Okay, he is the king, the Lord, etc. Let me prove it. Now let's go to the book of Isaiah. Christ is he's the wind that controls the sea. The sea is the people. Okay, the sea is the peoples. Now let's go to Isaiah 57 real quick. The sea symbolizes the people. I got it. You got it? Yes, sir. Isaiah 57 and verse 20. So when you get there, you can read if you want to. I got it. Isaiah chapter 57, verse 20. But the wicked are like the troubled sea.
The troubled sea, go ahead.
When it cannot rest, whose water casts up myrrh and dirt.
Okay, so I just want to verify, excuse me, I want to verify that the sea represents the people. Christ came up from the sea. He's the wind that controls the people. Okay, he controls the people. He's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. Right now, let's go back to the book of let's go back to Ezra, and read. In fact, let me read verse 3 again. Okay. It says, "And I beheld, and lo, that man Christ waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, and when he turned his countenance to look, and all the things trembled that were under his feet." Right? That relates to Psalms 110. Right? God says, "Sit right at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool," correct?
Good.
Verse 4, it says, "And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burn that heard his voice, like as the earth," it says, "Philip, when it Philip the fire." Right? So it says whenever he spoke, it says that his words were so powerful that it says again here that they burn. Okay, so now with that, let's go to Isaiah 11. Yeah, Isaiah chapter 11, verse 4. Got it. Yeah, I gotta get there myself. Yeah, okay. Isaiah 11:4. You want to read that?
Yes, it's the book of Isaiah 11:4. The book of Isaiah chapter 11, verse 4, and it reads on this wise. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with iniquity for the meek of the earth. Right. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth. With the rod of his mouth. Yep. And with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. So he slay the wicked, right? Now let's go quickly to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23. Real fast. Jeremiah 23. The second Ezra 13 is dealing with the Messiah. Okay, he's going to gather his people because they have to receive the gospel. Yes, sir. So we're gonna go to Jeremiah chapter 23, and we're going to read verse. You know what?
I want to read verse 23 through 30, but I don't really want to read all of this. So that's like, because the class is not too long, right? We got like an hour and a half or so, right? An hour and a half. So you know what? Those of you who's watching, etc., just write this down. Jeremiah 23, verses 23 through 30. Okay. So, but we just read the book of Isaiah, though, chapter 11, verse 4, backing that up. Right now, let's go back to 2nd Ezra, and we're gonna pick right back up at verse 5. You want to read that verse 5?
Yes, verse 5, 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 5 reads on this wise. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men.
A multitude of men. Yep. Go ahead.
A multitude of men out of the number from the four winds of the heavens to subdue the man that came out of the sea.
Go ahead. So let me hold on, stop right there. So it says they came to subdue this man that came out of the people, right? These people here are the Pharisees, the Jews that rejected the Messiah. That's what they're speaking about. I'm going to prove it to you as we continue. All right, I'm going to prove it to you. Now, read verse 6.
Verse 6. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up on it.
Okay, stop right there. So it says that he graved himself a great mountain, right? Now, Christ called himself a kingdom. This is what he's talking about. He called himself a kingdom because he brought the kingdom of heaven to earth, which is the Gospels, right? But it says, but I could, he says, I could not see that region. We're going to get to that part, right? I just want to tell you or show you that he called himself a kingdom. The kingdom is the gospel. That's what it is. The kingdom of heaven. That's what he's talking about, right? Okay, now, verse 8, read verse 8.
Verse 8. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight.
Right, they fight. You keep going.
And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war.
Okay, you can start right there. So it says that they came to fight him, right, to subdue him. But it says he never lifted up his hand, or he never fought back, or no instrument of war, correct? No instrument of war. Now, hold on for a second. So basically, again, the kingdom is the people, symbolize the mountains, right? Now, in fact, you know what? In fact, so here, hold on, bear with me for a second.
Take your time.
You read verse 7? You read verse 7?
No, I read verse 7 already. Want me to read again? I stopped at verse 7.
Read it one more time, then read verse 8. Yeah. Okay,
verse 8. But
read verse 7 one more time. Verse 7. Okay. And then verse 8.
All right. 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 7. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven.
But he would have seen the region. Remember that word. I would have seen the region, the hill or mountain, his kingdom that he called, right? Let's keep that in mind. Keep reading.
And I could not. Verse 8. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid.
Okay, stop right there. It says all that was gathered together to subdue him, they were afraid. Now let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 21. It says that they came against him. Who were the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Herodians, the Jews who denied him? They all came against him.
I got it.
Okay, Matthew 21, and when you get there, you can read. In fact, let me get there real quick. Read verse 46.
Matthew chapter 21, verse 46, and it reads on this wise. When we start at verse 4, verse 46. 42?
Yeah, you can start there.
Start at verse 42?
Yeah, start at verse 42. Let's give it context. Yeah, content.
Right. Jesus Yahawashi said unto them, did ye never read the scriptures? The stone which the stone which the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. This is the Lord doing, and it's and it is marvelous in all eyes. Verse 43. Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of the Most High shall be taken from you, and given to a nation bringeth forth the fruits thereof.
Right.
And whosoever shall fall on his stone shall be broken, but on whosoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. Verse 45. And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard his parables, they perceived that he spake of them. Right. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitude, because they took him for a prophet. They feared the multitude. They feared the multitude.
So what did we just read here in 2nd Ezra when it says that that they feared him? What verse was that again? I lost my what were we at again when they said, hold on a second, bear with me for a second here.
If y'all taking notes, notes on the screen, write it down. We fear the multitude of the
Okay. So it says, verse 9, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, as you just read, he neither lifted up his hand nor held a sword or instrument of war, right? But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, right? And out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks of tempest, right? Did we read verse 11? Let me read verse 11.
Go ahead.
And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, right? And it says, and fell with violence upon the multitude, because he spoke words of power, which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid, right? Now, I want to go to the book of Luke real quick. The book of Luke, real fast. Chapter, when you get there, go to chapter 17.
Got it.
Yeah, read verses 20 and 21.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 20 and verse 21. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees, when the kingdom of the Most High should come, he answered them and said, the kingdom of the Most High cometh not with observations, neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of the Most High is within you.
You said the kingdom of the Most High is within you. You said the kingdom, you can't say the kingdom of heaven is over there or it's way over there, it's within you. So he brought the kingdom of heaven to earth. You understand?
Right.
So it says he called himself a mountain. When it says he called himself a mountain, it's speaking about the kingdom of heaven, the gospel that he brought to earth. That's what it's talking about, right? Now, bear with me for one quick second here. One quick second. Yeah, let's go back to 2nd Ezra and let's read verse 9 again.
2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 9, and reads on this wise. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude, they came. He neither lift up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instruments of war.
Now stop right there. Now notice, it's not talking about the future. The future, right? Because scripture said that Christ will be returning with an army of heaven. Right? You can read that in the book of Revelations, chapter 19, verses 11 through 15. So right here, he's not in verse 9, he's not talking about when it says no instrument of war, because he's not going to fight until he come back.
Right.
Come back with his army from heaven, right? That's when he's going to fight. So it clearly says he lifted not up his hand to fight, and Christ did not fight, okay, during his first appearance. He did not fight. He taught peace, okay, to turn the right cheek, etc. And when the Romans arrested him, right, he did not fight. So what did he tell Peter to do? Peter, with the sword. What did he tell Peter? He told him to put the sword away, correct? So he did not deal with no violence. He's going to fight when he returned, right? Now let's read verse 10. Let's go back to 2nd Esdras and read verse 10.
2nd Esdras chapter 13, verse 10, it reads on this wise. But only I saw that he sent out his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out his lips a flaming breath, and out his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Okay, stop right there. So it says his words were so powerful that it symbolizes what again? It symbolizes blast of fire, right? And sparks, correct? Now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23. That's how powerful his words were. That's why they could not come against him, right? Right. The book of Jeremiah chapter 23. Yeah, Jeremiah 23. And when you get there, right, read verse 29. Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 29. And it reads on this wise. Is not my word like as a fire, says the Most High, and like a hammer that breaketh the rock in pieces. Okay, so it says that Christ's words were so powerful, right? And it's not talking about him being violent or fighting. We just read that he showed no violence, right? We just read it in Esdras, right? So it's speaking about his words cutting like a two-edged sword. And you can read about that in the book of Hebrews. I'm not going to go at it. We're not going to go to the book of Hebrews because of time-wise, but you can read about that in the book of Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12. Okay, Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12. It also talks about Christ's words being like a two-edged sword. Okay, now let's go back to the book of Esdras and let's jump down to verse 12. The book of Esdras, chapter 13, verse 12, right? And it reads on this wise. Afterward, I saw the same man come down from the mountain and call unto him another peaceable multitude. Okay, you stop there. So it says that he called himself another peaceable multitude, right? Yes, sir. Another peaceable multitude. Basically another crowd, people that believed on him. And these are part of the 10 tribes. So these are the 10 tribes that had migrated. I'm going to show you as we continue. Okay, so it says he called himself a peaceable multitude, right? That's verse, what's that? Verse 12, read verse 13. Verse 13. And there came much people unto him. Whereof some were glad, some were sorry, some of them were bound, and others some bought of them that were offered. Them was a sick, though great fear, and I awakened and said. That's verse 13. Okay, yeah, start with that. So it says that and there came unto him much people, right? Which is a great multitude. In fact, let's just continue. Go to verse 14. Verse 14. Thou hast shown thy servant these wonders from the beginning, and hast counted me worthy that thou shouldest receive my prayers. Okay, stop right there. For a second here. Hold on for a second. Let me see something. Yeah, okay. All right. All right, do me a favor. Let's go to the book of Mark, chapter 1 and verse 28. The book of Mark, chapter 1, verse 28, and it reads on this wise. Okay. And empty, his fame spread abroad throughout all the region round about Galilee.
That's it?
Yeah. Verse 28.
Right, so it says that his fame spread it all throughout that region, right?
Yes, sir.
Remember that word region. His fame spread it all throughout that region. Now, do me a favor. Go to the book of John, chapter 11, and read verse 52. His fame spread it through all the region. John 11 and 52. Now, let me get there myself.
This is John.
In fact, hear what you do. Hear what you do. Read verses 47 through 52. Now, this is the high priest Caiaphas of the Pharisees. This is when they brought Christ in. Okay. Read verses 47 through 52.
Okay. They gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees, a council, and said, "What do we? For this man doth many miracles.
Right.
If we leave him thus alone, all men believeth on him.
We
and the
believe on him,
Romans
right?
come and take away both our place and nation."
Right.
Verse 49. And one of them named, what's that?
Caiaphas.
Caiaphas.
Yeah, his name was Caiaphas. He was the high priest during the time of the Messiah.
Right. Caiaphas.
Yes.
Being the high priest that same year said unto them, "Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expended for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not."
Let me stop you there. Caiaphas was prophesying, okay, that Christ must die for the nation of Israel. Even though he didn't believe on the Messiah, God put it in Caiaphas' spirit to prophesy. He's prophesying basically and don't even realize he's prophesying. Okay, so it says, verse 50, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation shall perish not, right? Verse 51, and this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for that nation. See that? Verse 52, and not for that nation only, okay, because at this particular time you had many Edomites was living as Jews also in that region. Okay, that's why you can read about the Herodians. There was Edomites, there was converts. Okay, he says so he says so not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together. He should gather together. Let me read it again. That he should gather together in one children of God that were scattered abroad. You see that? That Christ should gather together the children that were scattered abroad. Okay, this also plays with second Ezra. You're going to see as we continue, right? So now let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 11.
What I found interesting in verse 53, they said a city called Ephraim.
Right. Exactly.
You say go where now?
Isaiah 11. I know this lesson is kind of long, but it's needed. I don't know if we'll get through the whole thing today or tonight, but if not, we'll just do a part 2. We'll continue. Verse 11. Chapter 11, start at verse 10.
All right, Isaiah 11.
No, we're not gonna read all of that. Let me just go through it. This is Isaiah 11. Now this is dealing with the second return. Okay, the first gathering was when Moses led the Jews to the promised land, or Joshua took over. Right? That's the first gathering. This is the second gathering. Okay, folks, Isaiah 11 is the second gathering. The third and final gathering is in the book of Ezekiel, when Christ is going to bring back all 12 tribes from the captivity. So this is the second gathering. This also took place already. Okay, so it says the book of Isaiah chapter 11 verse 10, and in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign for the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, which is above the Euphrates, and the Tigris River. Many people forget about the Tigris River. You have many Jews scattered all over that region. Miles away, I'm talking about 50, 100 miles away, scattered all over that region, right? Over the Tigris and the Euphrates. So the Jews, when you talk about second Ezra dealing with the Euphrates, when they say they crossed the Euphrates, the Jews above the Tigris, they had to go south to get to the Euphrates.
Right.
But that's getting a little bit off the top. We're still in the topic, but let's continue. So it says that he shall gather, it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people, that which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt, which is Africa, and from Patros, which is Africa, like the Elephantine Jews. The Elephantine Jews that fled with Jeremiah, many of them continue further south into what is called Elephantine Island, right? The Elephantine Jews, and you still have black Jews that continue to live on the Elephantine Island as we speak. But why they don't talk about this? These camps, they don't talk about the Elephantine Jews, right?
Exactly.
Then it says, which is Patros. Patros is where Elephantine is located. And it says, and Cush, okay? And this particular time, it's not just talking about Ethiopia, because much of Africa was considered to be Cush. And I'm going to show you on the map. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to have time tonight. It says, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. Now let's skip over to verse 15. It says, and the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, because the 10 tribes went to Africa. And I'm going to show you as we continue. It says, and the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind he shall shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it into 7 streams, and make men go over dry shod. And this prophecy already took place. This was the second gathering. The third and final gathering is when Christ is going to bring back all 12 tribes. Okay, that's going to be the final gathering. The final. Now, you know what? Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 15, 24. We're going back to second Ezra. But this, right. I have to cover this so people can get the content of what's happening.
Right. Take your time, brother. Yeah. Take your time.
Let's go back. Let's go to Matthew, the book of Matthew, chapter 15, dealing with the scattered and the lost sheep. Christ said, "Go to the lost sheep." He told all his disciples to go to the lost sheep in that region. How can they go to the lost sheep if the 12 tribes were not dwelling in that region? He said, go to the lost sheep.
Yes, sir.
Matthew chapter 15, right? Let's go to verse 24. That's one verse. I'll read it. And Christ said to his disciples, he says, actually, no, this is dealing with this is dealing with the Canaanite Syro-Phoenician woman, right? He says, but he said unto her, I am not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? Only the lost sheep. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 16.
Verse 13.
We're going to read verses 13 through 16. You can read if you want to. If not, I read.
Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 through 16. Christ said to his disciples, and when Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do the men say that I am, the Son of Man am? Like, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, some say thou art John the Baptist, Elijah, and others say Jeremiah, or one of his prophets. And he said unto them, but who do you say I am? So showing you that Christ, when he sent his apostles to go teach, they went and taught all the tribes.
Right.
All the tribes was in that region. So this is confirmation, right? That Christ sent his disciples to teach all the tribes. Not just the tribe of Judah and Benjamin and Levi as these camps teach. Okay. In fact, let me see something here. Bear with me for 1 second here. Okay, we went over that. Yeah, do me a favor, Shem Shaw. That map, right? Can you pull up that map where it has hold on a second. Make sure I put the right map here. I'm gonna show you guys that Kush, many parts of Africa was considered to be Kush also. Okay, many parts. Which map did I tell you to pull up earlier that you saved in your folder? Hey, Shawshan, can you hear me?
I got yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, which map did you save in the folder with the maps? Yeah.
I saved all of them. The ones you told me. Hold on, let me quick.
I want to make sure I pull up the right one. No, that's not the one. The one I want.
This one that.
That's dealing with B'nai Ephraim, showing the people that we're gonna we're gonna deal with those later. Maybe yeah, we're gonna deal with that later. Maybe let me see. Nah, that's not it.
This one.
All of those. No, that's not it. You know what? We're not gonna deal with that right now. We're gonna continue. Let's continue. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 2. This is dealing with King Herod. After he slaughtered all those Jewish male babies.
Right.
We're going back to 2nd Ezra. Yeah, King Herod, chapter 2, the book of Matthew, chapter 2. And
13.
Read verses 16 through 18.
16 through 18?
Yep. Okay. For time's sake, we don't really have too much time to be reading too much, Okay. So yeah, let's just read verses 16 through 18.
All right. Then Herod, when he saw that he was marked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and
he slew all the children. Keep reading.
Right, slew all the children of Bethlehem, and all the coast thereof from 2 years old and under.
Right.
According to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men.
Right.
There was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying,
right.
And Raymond was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping and great mourning. Rachel weeping for her children. And Rachel
she weeping for who?
Her children.
Okay.
And would not be comfort because they are not.
And it says, in Ramah was a voice heard of lamentation. Herod slew so many babies, trying to kill one child, Christ. But we know that Joseph and Mary took him and they went to Egypt, right? We all know the story, right? Now here you have this man trying to find this one child, and he slew all these male babies. So it says Rachel weeping for her children. This proves also that all 12 tribes were in the land.
Rachel.
Right? Rachel weeping for her children. Let's go to Genesis chapter 30 real fast. Let me show you something. Genesis chapter 30. It says Rachel. Chapter 30. Genesis chapter 30. It says Rachel weeping for her children.
Right.
She's weeping for all her children, right? Because you have all the 12 tribes dwelling in the land except for the tribe of Dan. Okay. That's why you don't see the tribe of Dan listed among the 144,000. But that's a whole nother topic. Genesis chapter 30. I'm going to read verses 1 through 8 real quick, right? And it says here, and Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, and Rachel and by her sister and said unto Jacob, give me children or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, am I God, said, right, who has withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And verse 3 says, and she said, behold, my maid Bilhah. She says, go into her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her, right? And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went into her, right? Verse 5, and Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. But look what it says here. Look what it says here. It says, and Rachel said, God has judged me and have also heard my voice and has given me a son. Therefore, she called his name Dan. So Rachel named Dan. You see that?
Right.
Because even though she couldn't have, she wasn't having any children, right? Bilhah basically was called, what you call that? Like a surrogate mom? What you call that today?
Right.
A surrogate? She basically was a surrogate mother, basically. Okay. Even though Bilhah was the biological mother, Rachel was Dan's legal mother.
Right.
So when he says Rachel weeping for her children, it's talking about all 12 tribes, right? And then it says here, verse 7, and Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and says, and I have prevailed, and she called his name Naphtali. So Rachel she named Dan, and she named Naphtali, and we know she had Joseph, right? And Joseph also represents all 12 tribes, correct? So that's why it says Rachel weeping for her children, because all the tribes were in the land. All 12 tribes was in the land, right? Now let's go back to the second Ezra.
Right. Got it.
But you got many people talking about only Judah, Benjamin, and Levi was dwelling in the land during the Messiah. No, they all was in the land because they all had to receive the gospel. They all had to be taught the gospel through the Messiah. So they was all gathered to him from many parts. All in Africa, the Middle East, they all gathered to him. Now, many of them did not believe on him after they heard him teach, but many did. So now let's go back to Ezra and let's pick back up at let me see here. 16, yeah. And 16 and 17.
For as I conceive in my understanding, woe unto them that shall be left in those days, and much more unto them that are not left behind. Verse 17. For they that were not left were in heavens.
Was in haven, right? A haven is right.
Right.
So it says that Ezra said, from my understanding, woe unto those that shall be left behind, much more to them that are not left behind, that migrated. Okay, I'm going to show you. It says, and they not left that are migrated, who were in havenness. Now, so it says that those that did not stay behind in Jerusalem, they went to Africa, they was in havenness. They was having a hard time also. The 10 tribes that migrated, okay? They was going through a lot of things. In fact, now let's go to the in fact, if you have the book of Babylon, the 10th book 2, on page 132, right?
Oh, I don't have it on me.
Huh?
I don't have it on me.
Okay, I know you don't have to have it, but if anybody have the book of Babylon, the 10th book 2, everybody got that book.
Right.
Okay, even homeless people got that book. They got Babylon, the 10th book 2. Everybody and their mama got Babylon, the 10th book 2. Right? So on page 132, Dr. Winslow, he mentions this guy named Bate Kende Ngoza, right? Bate Kende Ngoza. Now, Charles Shan, I want you to pull out that image of that brother. You saved him in the folder. You got him in the folder, right? Yeah, you saved him in the folder. Yeah, go back to the images. I'll tell you. We're about to read. Yeah, that's him right there. We're about to read what he said about his people. This is the same man that Ezra mentioned I'm sorry, Dr. Windsor mentioned in his book From Babylon to Timbuktu, right? The same man. But I just want to read something real quick. Where he said that they was going through a lot of things when they was traveling. In fact, let's start right here on page. This is the book right here. See, this is the book. This book was published like in the early 1900s or something like that.
Right.
So page 44, 45. Now this man here, he was from the tribe of Ephraim, right? The tribe of Ephraim. I'm gonna start right here at 44. He says here, it's our rabbis, they teach us that our people left Judea after the destruction of the temple and came to Africa. See that? It is easy to say come to Africa, but consider the difficulties of traveling, as we just read here in 2nd Ezra. Let's go back here. Let's go back. Let's go back when it says verse 16, right? It says, for as I conceive in my understanding, woe unto them that be left behind. Okay, I'm sorry, woe unto them that shall be left in those days. But it says, and much more woe unto them that are not left behind. Because many Jews, they continue past Jerusalem, right? Went to Africa after they migrated from above the Euphrates. But we're going to show you that, right? So he says again, this guy right here, he's from the tribe of Ephraim, right? B'nai Ephraim. He says, it is easy to say that we came to Africa, but consider the difficulties of traveling in those ancient days across water and deserts without good means of transportation. He said, we traveled to Morocco and lived there many generations. And then because of persecutions, you see that? Persecutions, we had to leave instantly without warning. And we lost all that we had acquired during those years, wealth and property and stock. And we crossed from Morocco directly south over the Sahara Desert. Another, he says, stupendous undertaking. That story goes that children was born and grew there, etc., etc. But I just wanted to show you that this guy here from the tribe of Ephraim, he said his people came from the tribe of B'nai Ephraim, and they had difficulties when they went down into Africa. So they was being persecuted also, right? They was being persecuted. So now let's go back to 2nd Ezra.
Got it.
Okay. Read verse 18.
Verse 18.
Yep.
Now understanding I the things that are laid up in the latter days, which shall happen unto them and to those that are left behind.
Right, those that be left behind, right? Then read verse 19.
Therefore are they come into great perils and many. What's that? I can't get that word.
Therefore, they say, or they come to great perils and many necessities, like as these dreams declare. So,
right.
So I just want to show you guys, right, real quick. Even according to what Amgoza said, this brother right here, you see on the screen right here, his family came from B'nai Ephraim. He said he's from the tribe of Ephraim, and they had difficulties traveling through Africa after migrating from Assyria, right? So let's see here. I want to hurry and get through this, guy. I know how much more time we got, man. We don't have that much more time, correct?
We got like 40 minutes.
How many more minutes?
40.
40 minutes? Okay, 40. Okay, that's good. Let's start at verse 22. 2nd Ezra 22.
Verse 22.
Yep.
Whereas thou hast spoken of them that are left behind, this is the interpretations.
So now the angel is about to show him the interpretation of those Jews that was left behind. What Jews left behind where? Where they left behind at?
Right.
Want to see? Let's continue. Read verse 25.
This is the meaning of the vision, whereas thou sawest a man coming up from the midst of the sea.
Right. Verse 26.
The same is he whom God, the highest, have kept a great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature, and he shall order them that are left behind.
Okay, you can stop there. So he says, and he shall order them that are left behind. Right? So Christ coming out of the sea, meaning the people, as I showed you earlier, the people represents the sea. Okay, well, he would command the people, all right, that are left behind. You're going to see, just watch. And shall deliver his creature. It says those that not be left behind, okay, those not left behind, okay, those are part of the 10 tribes also. Okay, now let's go to verse 30. Verse 30.
Verse 30. And he shall come to the utmost, I can't see this, brother.
And it said, I read it, and he shall come to the astonishment. It said, and he shall come, meaning Christ, he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. So let me stop right there real fast, real quick. So he says that he shall come to the astonishment. Remember those words, right? Astonishment of those that dwell on the earth.
Right.
Does not it say that, Qanath?
Right.
Verse 30?
Yeah.
Let's read it again. Let's read it one more time. And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. Now let's go to the book of Matthew. It's gonna get more interesting. Let's keep watching. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 22. If I'm standing up, that means I'm tired of sitting. That's what I mean. If you guys see me standing or doing something, right? I can flip the pages a lot easier this way, you know. Let's go to Matthew 22. And then you guys will see me sit back down. 22. And bear with me for a second. Yeah, read verses 22 and 23.
Verse 22. When they had heard these words, they marveled and left him and went their way.
Okay, you can stop there. It says when they had heard these words, they marveled, right, and left him and went their way, right? And it says here, verse 23, and the same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked of him. But it says that they marveled, right? So we just read the second Ezra again. It says, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 13. Because of his teaching. His teachings were so powerful. They were so powerful, right? That the people were astonished. They couldn't believe his teachings. Let's go to Matthew chapter 13 and read verse 50. One second. See, Matthew chapter 13, right? Yeah, read verse 53 and 54.
Verse 53.
Yep.
And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogues.
Right.
And so much that they were astonished.
They were what?
And said, astonished.
Go ahead.
And said, whence hath this man this wisdom? These mighty works.
You see that? You can stop right there. So just as we just read in second Ezra, let me get it one more time. Verse 30. It says, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. This is what it's speaking about right here, because it said that his words would be like a blast of fire. Right. So his words was that powerful. Right? Now let's go back to second Ezra. Let's pick right back up at verse 31. Let's read verse 31 and 32.
31. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. 32. Right. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen, which I show thee before, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. Whom thou sawest as a man ascending among the peoples, among the sea,
And it said that he was the wind that controlled the sea. So it says, at the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, right? And it says, and the sign shall happen, which I showed thee, then my son shall be declared, right? Now let's read verse 33. I read it. I read verse 33. It says here, and when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle. They have one against another. Now, many people don't know that even during this time, there was a lot of wars going on. There were a lot of wars. I got the books and information to bring it out, but I don't have time to. But it was a lot of different wars going on around this time. Okay? When the Romans was in power, it was a lot of wars going on. Right? So now let's read verse 34. Matter of fact, I read it, verse 34. It says, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together as thou saw of them willing to come, keep that in mind, and to overcome him by fighting. So it says, an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together as thou saw of them willing to come and overcome him, right? By fighting, right? Now, verse 34, it says, and many also will come and try to overcome him, right? And not all return believe on Christ. Okay, not all return believe on the Messiah. They not all believed on him. Many return for the festivals and the feast days and the Passovers. Let me show you. Let me grab my book real quick.
Hey, go ahead and take over. I'll be right back.
Huh?
Go ahead and take over. I'll be right back.
Yeah, let me get my book, the letters of Pontius Pilate. Hold on a second. All right, here we go here. Here we go, right here.
You still want me to share the screen?
You can take that down if you want to. Excuse me. Yeah, you can take that down.
Okay.
Let me find the page that I want here. This here, folks, another excellent source. These are the letters of Pontius Pilate, okay, giving you more information about Christ, John the Baptist. These are real letters. When he was the procurator in Judea. Okay, the procurator in Judea. And we're going to read what he said about the Jews coming up to the festivals, the feast days, the Passovers, etc. And stop when he come back here. So what time you got to be to work tomorrow, bro?
12.
You want me to continue or wait for Qanath?
I hear you. I'm right here. Go ahead. I'm right here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, we got.
Yeah,
All
right here.
Go ahead.
All
We
right,
got
this is page 20.
Hey, we got 20. We got.
Okay, I'm gonna hurry up. Like I said, if we don't finish tonight, we'll continue. It's no problem. All right, let's see what Pilate says now. At this particular time, you had this guy named Valerius, right? And he was the procurator before. You say something?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, this time, right? You had this this procurator named Valerius, right? He was the procurator before Pontius Pilate. So when Pilate got there, he basically gave Pilate a rundown of what to expect as the governor. He gave them a rundown of the custom of the Jews, how they live, their beliefs, etc., right? But what thing is, Pilate was worried about money because Herod had all these great palaces, so he was worried about how he was going to maintain these palaces, right? So, but look what Valerius said to him. He gave him a good idea how to raise money. He said here, Pilate says that he told me also that I should by all means encourage the Jews who strong to Jerusalem from Asia and Africa at the time of the great festivals, especially the Passover. So he says every year, he said thousands of Jews came up from Africa to Jerusalem for the Passover. Who are these Jews right here coming up from Africa to the Passover? Right. This is before 70 AD. So who are these Jews coming from Asia, the Asian Minor, and Africa to the Passover? They can't be Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Some of them may have been coming from Elephantine, but who are all these Jews coming from Africa? They're part of the 10 tribes. The 10 tribes.
Let's get it.
Let's continue. Let's continue. Now let's go to where I stopped. Let me grab my notes. Okay. Yeah. Let's go now. Let's go to 2 Chronicles. You know what? No. It's gonna take too much time. Just write this down right here. But for any of you who are listening, 2 Chronicles chapter 35, verses 1 through 3. That's what King Hosea kept the Passover. He encouraged the Levites to teach. We're not going to get into all of that. And then Nehemiah, you got Nehemiah chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. And then you got verse 9, 14 to 18. And then you can write down Nehemiah chapter 9 and verse 2. We don't really have time to go into all of that tonight. So let's go back. Let's go back to 2nd Ezra, and we're gonna pick right back up now. Let's pick up. Let's pick at verse 33.
33.
Yeah. So we don't have time really to be going through all that. You know, I wish we did, but we really don't have time.
An innumerable multitude shall be gathered together as thou sowest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting.
Right.
You said 33 or 34? That's 34. My bad. You said 33?
Yeah. Read 34. Read 34. Go ahead. 34. Okay,
I thought you said 33. My bad. Okay, 34. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together as thou sowest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. Right. Go ahead. Verse 35. But he shall stand up the top of the Mount Zion. Mm-hmm. And Zion shall come and shall be showed to all men, being prepared and built like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. Without what? Without hands. Without hands, right? Go to the book of Acts real quick. The book of Acts, chapter 8, and read verses 48 through 50. Okay. Acts chapter 8? Yeah. Verses 48 through 50. Acts chapter 8, 48 through 50. Uh-huh. It says this. Acts chapter 8. There is no no, that's the wrong one. Okay, I must have wrote it down wrong. Go to 2 Corinthians then, chapter 5, verse 1. I must have wrote it down wrong or something. I don't know what happened. That's okay. Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 1. Let's read that real quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1. Yeah. Read on this what? Thus all the works of Solomon made forth the house of the Lord was finished, and Solomon bought and all things that David his father had dedicated, and the silver and the gold and all the instruments put he among the treasures of the house of the Most High. Okay. All right. Okay. So did I tell you 2 Corinthians? Yeah. You know what? Don't worry about it, because I just want to share the scripture is talking about. Chronicles. You said Corinthians or Chronicles? 2 Corinthians. That's what I meant. Did I say something wrong or something? 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and 1. Maybe I said it wrong. You probably get it before me, because this not my regular Bible. Okay, I go get it. I get it. Don't worry.
I get it. I got it right here. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, a house not made with hands, eternal in heaven. Okay, not made with hands. I just want to back that up right here where it says again, in verse 36, right? He says,
Yeah.
and Zion shall come and shall be shewed to all men, talking about Christ, being prepared to build like as thou saw the hill graven without hands, meaning his kingdom, meaning the gospel. He brought the gospel to Jerusalem, right? Verse 37, let's read verse 37. And this, my son, he shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into tempest. Verse 38, and shall lay before them their evil thoughts and their torments, wherewith they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto flame of fire, right? And he shall destroy them without labor by the law. The law, what law? How Christ is going to destroy these people? With the law of Moses, right? The law of Moses, right? And the law of the gospel, right? So it says without labor and without law, which is like unto fire. So his words was like fire because he brought the gospel, he brought the kingdom of heaven to that region, right? He brought the kingdom of heaven to that region. So it says they will be tormented that deny Christ. Anybody that deny him, they will be tormented into the lake of fire. When it's all said and done, that's it, right? The book of Matthew, chapter 10 and 28, we're not going to go there. It says, don't be afraid of those that can kill the body. Christ said, don't be afraid of those that can kill the body. They cannot touch your soul. He said, God can destroy your soul in hell, correct? Now, let's skip down to verse 39. Real quick, let's get to the meat. Verse 39. You want to read that?
And where's thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude.
Another peaceable multitude. Stop right there. Another peaceable multitude, because the first multitude, they came to subdue him. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, those who did not believe in the gospel, they came to subdue him. So this is the peaceable multitude that he gathered unto himself. These are the 10 tribes that have migrated, okay, after the death of Sennacherib. They went down into Africa. Many of them are returning back now because they got to receive the gospel. They have to receive the gospel. Listen, you have the Son of God in the midst of the people. You have the kingdom of heaven in Jerusalem. You don't think God is going to have the 12 tribes come back to receive the gospel? Are you kidding me? You got a Son of Man in Jerusalem, in that region, right? So it says, verse 39 again, right? It says where you saw he gathered another peaceable multitude unto himself. Let's go to Matthew now. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 3, verse 2. How much more time we got, Shaw? How much time we got? You must didn't hear me. Let's go to Matthew chapter 13 and read verse 2. So it says he's going to gather another peaceable multitude, right? Okay.
Wow.
Go to Matthew chapter 13. When you get there, right? Read verse 2. Matter of fact, read verses 1 and 2. 1 and 2.
1 and 2. It's this, Matthew 13, 1 and 2. The same day went Jesus out of the house and sat by the seaside. And great multitude were gathered together unto him.
And great multitude, right?
Yes, sir.
Was gathered together. The same words you see here in Ezra 39, whereas I saw that gathered another peaceable great multitude, another peaceable multitude unto him. Okay, go ahead, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Right. So that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore.
Okay, stop right there. So it says, a great multitude were gathered together unto him. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 9 and read verse 36.
Say Matthews?
Yeah, 9, yep. And we're gonna read verse 36.
Matthew chapter 9, verse 36. But when he saw the multitude, he was moved with compassion on them, because thy faith
They what? They fainted, right?
Right. They fainted. They fainted. And were scattered abroad.
And were scattered where? Abroad. Correct. Go ahead.
Yeah. As having no shepherd.
It says, but when he saw the multitude, he was moved with compassion on them because they fainted. Why they fainted? Because many of these people came from far. His name spread it through all that region. So it said many fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. Right? Now let's go to Matthew 19.
Yeah, 4 minutes.
Real quick. Okay.
4 minutes. Last scripture then.
Matthew 19 and verse 2.
19 and 2.
Yeah.
And great multitude followed him, and he healed them all, and he healed them there.
And he healed them all, right? So it says great multitudes followed him, right? Now we're gonna stop right there. We're gonna stop right there because we'll get into the next lesson, how they left, the timeline, how the 10 tribes leave, who was ruling at the time, how they escaped, the whole nine. We'll do that in the next lesson because I don't really have time. I don't have time to go into that tonight. I don't have time. But excuse me, if you go to James 1 and 1 also, He said the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Christ said they gathered unto him, the 12 tribes. They have to be there. They have to be there to receive the gospel. There's no getting around it. They had to receive the gospel. That's why he told his disciples, go to the lost sheep and teach the gospel. Go ahead.
Let me say something real quick. Verse 39 in second address, and he says, he gathered another peaceable multitude. And then verse 49, it says, those are the 10 tribes.
Those are the tribes. But we'll continue. We'll continue. It's going to get more interesting. It's going to get more interesting. Those are the tribes that came back.
Let me say something real fast. You know, shalom to the family. Thank y'all for joining F.O.P. Elder Qanath and our brother Yehuda Israel. Basically, the live is going to end in another bias because we're using StreamYard. And StreamYard, we have the basic plan. The free plan. We didn't know that on how much you can stream. So we have reached the limit of how much we can stream until next month, until it start over. $5 a month. So if y'all wanted to donate, 25 people can donate $1, and that will cover the plan. So if one of y'all, if 25 people can donate $1, we can play for the plan every month. We'll do these live streams at least 3 to 4 times a week, but we asking for the people to help us out to pay for the stream. And also a fund for Elder Qanath on an equipment plan. He's trying to get a better camera, so when he do his video, he don't have to keep using his cell phone. So we're gonna put cash apps up that y'all can donate if y'all would like to help out for the people.
Yeah, that's it for me. I just want to continue maybe next week, and we're going to show how and when they left. There's nobody gonna be able to dispute when they left, how they left, who was in power, who was in charge. We're gonna deal with that next time. But that's it for me.
And all praise to the Most High, man. I'd like to thank all of y'all for coming on. Tomorrow, Most High will, I'm gonna be doing another class on Facebook and hopefully transfer it over here. We won't be. Hopefully, I'm gonna try to get rid of all them notifications. I know y'all like, what the hell is wrong with notifications? Somebody told me how to get rid of that, so I could transfer it over here. It won't be a live class, and that class will pertain to the age of Rebecca and Isaac, right? And did Rebecca and Isaac have sex, right? Was King David, did King David get a hard on or not? Some people talk about he didn't get a hard on. It's just sickening. So we're gonna deal with that tomorrow. Most High will. So all praise, man. We love y'all, man, and I'm so glad the Most High brought us 3 brothers together with other brothers and sisters. Most High will. We'll be giving some more outstanding classes. Trust me. Trust me, y'all haven't seen nothing yet. We holding back like 80%. So
yeah, I have a box. I literally have a box of lessons I haven't even touched.
Right. We have, I mean.
And also I wanted to video showing y'all that, actually the hours is up so y'all can actually see it, that we're not trying to rip nobody out. That's we really trying to, get the donations so we can play for the plan. That way we can keep live streaming for y'all at least 3 to. If you want to ask for the people help, we're not lying about that. But go ahead, Elder Qanath.
Yeah, so tomorrow, Most High we'll put what we need to put in. Tell y'all what to put if you want to donate to do that, and also the Passover, if you want to call it the Passover, or but April 6th be coming together. Negro only. We haven't forgot. We know there's been a lot of drama going on in Israel with pedophilia and all that, but we haven't forgot. But I will say this: all the people who say they Northern Kingdom, we think you sojourners or whatnot. We're not saying all. Man, we appreciate you, brothers and sisters, who did make comments saying, we don't need that pedophilia or predators in Israel. Whether you're an Israelite or not. So the dude Jacob, even sometimes you off a little bit, brother. And I say brother because I look at you a brother if you're going against anything that's so-called negative to anybody, especially when it comes to children. When it comes to children, man, that's a serious issue in Israel right now. A very serious issue. So we glad that you brothers and sisters see that. And I will end with this. Please, somebody over on that other camp over there, stop it, man. Get that guy out of there. Get that guy out of there. You know who I'm talking about? I'm trying to let this thing go. Get that guy out of there, y'all. We have to move forward, man. Israel not liking that. We got to protect our young women and young men and young girls and young boys. So with that, man, Yehuda Mahala, Shashem Mahala, Israel, we gonna holler. Shalom.
Grace and peace.
Shalom. I'll put PayPal and Cash App in the description links. So if y'all want to donate stream every month, $25 and to Elder Qanath Equipment Fund, y'all can donate. I'll put them up there. We would like to say thank you. You're going to keep bringing the mission to the people. Shalom.
Shalom.